Welcome back to Love Restored. We are in 2023, and can you believe it? We are already at January 15th. Now, listen, my family, this is episode 1, and we are going to be taking a deep dive into the book that is behind me. We will be talking about Reigniting Your Relationship by 7X this entire season. We are going to tackle one chapter each episode. And now today I'm going to talk to you about the overall view about the book. Now here's the thing. If you want to follow along each time we talk about a chapter, then I want you to purchase your copy by going to bit.ly/reigniting relationships. That is bit.ly/reigniting relationships. And I'm sure the link will be supplied to you very, very soon, if not in the show notes. Now, with that being said, who am I? Why should you listen to me? Well, if this is your very first time to this platform, seeing your girl, the host of Love Restored, I am Marshaun Olaniyan. I am a shift relationship strategist where I help Black Christian women to stop feeling disconnected, to help them feel loved, to help them feel seen, to help them feel appreciated, all by first loving on themselves, so we can attract a beautiful partner, so we can curate beautiful marriages. Because the truth of the matter is this: most of us in our community did not and still have not received the tools, the strategies, the information on how to create a beautiful relationship, let alone a beautiful marriage. Now, most of us are used to seeing toxicity run rampant in our community. Now, I won't go into the deep dark background of why that is, but I will simply say that ever since our ancestors have been at the bottom of the totem pole, i.e., held in captivity and slavery, now, because we are not physically enslaved people, we are still mentally enslaved people. And so I'm helping you to stop being mentally enslaved, understand that you can create the relationship or marriage that you want by tweaking the things that you're actually doing. Because most people think that you can't have an argument or your marriage or relationship is going to be bad. That's absolutely not true. It's actually healthy, and research backs up that it is healthy to have more arguments, if you will. But it is only healthy when the two of you are not bitter, right? When the two of you can come to an understanding that, you know what, it's okay if we do not agree. So if the two of you can come to an understanding that it's okay, we can agree to not agree, to not harbor ill feelings, to be respectful during that disagreement, then you two have a better chance of still curating a very healthy, happy, romantic relationship and or marriage. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into the book that is right behind me, Reignite Your Relationship by 7X, this entire season. And again, if you want to pick up your copy, go to bit.ly/reigniting relationships, all lowercase letters. Again, bit.ly/reigniting relationships. So now let's jump into what this book is all about. Now, I do want to quickly read to you why I decided to write this particular book. Now, bear with you, girl, because it is very important that you understand why I created this book. And I just want to simply read that to you here. I wrote this book because I wish I had not experienced a divorce. I wish I had never had to go through the dating phase again, trying to figure things out on my own. I wrote this because I did not receive the proper guidance from my parents when it came to knowing or understanding myself, the real me, the person who was proud to look at herself in the mirror and know who she was. I wrote this book because I once had low self-esteem, didn't love my own skin, and chose the wrong men to whom I gave my body, mind, and partial soul to. Coupled with the fact that I had low self-esteem and I did not receive the proper talks about love, dating, relationships, and especially marriage, like so many of you out there, I knocked my head too many times to even think about. I wrote this book because even though I experienced things in life and love that I did not like or think should have been a part of my life story, it was all a part of my destiny. I wrote this book because I can help men and women see the beauty in love and how to implement simple yet effective tips and proven strategies into their love lives. Then they too can create an awesome love story. I wrote this book because I did the work, collected the data, and used these same tips and strategies within my own relationship. I have figured out the secrets not only to creating a love story, but also to living within an awesome love story. Now, why should you read my book? Why should you read this book? Why should you listen to the Love Restored episodes this entire season? Here's why. Because we're going to be taking a deeper dive into this book, as well as the chapters within this book, the understanding that you can have and create a beautiful relationship. And I put reignite, excuse me, I added reignite to relationship because the people that are in relationships, it might be mundane. There are things that you can do to just tweak that relationship to make it that much better. And so we're going to do an overview this episode about what the chapters are within the book, as well as then we're going to break down each episode. Each subsequent episode will break down each chapter within the book. So go ahead and pick up your copy of this book so you can follow along, as well as understand how you can reignite, as well as understand how you can reignite your own relationship. Now, why should you read this book? Being in a relationship, be it romantic or otherwise, for any period of time can result in having a few misunderstandings. Dealing with your own ego and prideful behavior and not saying I'm sorry as much as you should. It also includes being intentional, being respectful, and having those tough conversations with your partner. Each of these things, both the good and the bad, are all a part of the process of developing a relationship in which you are often in a state of blissfulness and utter joy. Many of us want to have that type of relationship where everyone notices and is just a bit envious of the bond in our relationship. We want others to see us, meaning you and your spouse, as the it couple. And it's okay. We all like to be celebrated by others. And I once heard a saying that people will celebrate you openly for what you've done in private for years. Now, this statement resonates with the truth. It takes years to build a deep and tightly bonded relationship in which the two of you are relying almost solely on each other, not needing to look outside the relationship for other people's approval and even their opinions. This is a great thing, as you should cleave to your spouse and become one flesh. You two should be each other's cheerleaders in everything that you do, no matter what it is, whether you agree with the thing or not. Now, that is why that is an excerpt as to why you should read this book. There's plenty more reasons why you should read this book. Now, without further ado, I want to start to jump into the topics that are contained within the book behind me. So the first chapter within the book deals all with self-love, fear, and baggage. Now, this is important because most of us, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, we were not taught how to love ourselves. We were not taught how to accept ourselves. Now, this is not everybody on the planet and definitely not everybody in the U.S. However, by and large, especially in our community, it is not necessarily something that most parents teach their children. And the truth of the matter is, because they weren't taught themselves, and they also had to survive. So again, we're no longer in the survival of being a Black people, right? We are more shifting to the thriving portion of it. So we're not blaming our parents. We're not shaming our parents in any way, shape, form, or fashion, because they only gave us what they had. They only had given us the experience that they knew how to give us. They only directed us the way that they knew how to direct us. And so if your relationship with your parent, with your mom, was toxic, it was because she couldn't break away from her own toxicity, and she passed along the traits that she knew how to pass along. So now that's just giving you an understanding of what was actually happening. It is not saying that it was right. I'm not even saying that it was wrong. It was what your parent or parents had to give to you. But now it is up to you as your own self, you being your own adult, on what you want to do with said information. You can continue to be a toxic person and pass along that toxicity that you experience yourself, or you can figure out, this is not how me want to live my life. This is not the information and the tools and strategies that I want to pass along to my children and or grandchildren. So now I got to figure out how to be different. And that way is you figuring out how to love yourself. It is a way to figure out how to stand and face those fears that you have in there. It is you figuring out, okay, this is my baggage. I don't want to carry these heavy suitcases any longer, nor do I want to bring all of this junk into my next relationship or my next marriage. I want to rid myself and shake all of this stuff off of me before I get to the next stage. So that is what the first chapter is all about. It's about you loving yourself. What does that look like? What does it mean? Facing your fears, looking at the baggage that you're carrying, and figuring out how to dump all of that away. Right? Chapter 2 is all about your happiness. Now, some people think that the spouse, your partner, is supposed to bring along this happiness and just feed it to you all the time, right? The problem with that is if you are constantly depending on someone else, in this case, your spouse, to make you happy, they are absolutely going to fail at some point. So chapter number 2 is all about happiness is your choice. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what circumstances have come your way, it is all about you choosing to still be happy no matter what those things are. And of course, I have examples in there. I have people's stories in there, the things that they actually did. But happiness, my sister, happiness, my brother, is all for you. It is about you. It is a choice that you have to make each and every day in order to show up and say, you know what? My money is a bit funny, but I don't have to be miserable because my money is funny. I have to figure out how to get my money back in order and at the same time still show up as a happy person. Not fake happy. I mean, really dealing with you to say no matter what is going on in my life, you are choosing to be happy. It is not something that somebody else externally can give you. Your happiness is all internal. Now, yes, your partner, your spouse, your friends, your family, all of those people can add to your happiness. But it is up to you to cultivate your happiness, what that actually looks like, and how you're looking at your life and what that means to you. Because we can look at, there could be two people that experience the exact same upbringing and look at their lives as polar opposites. I remember reading a book, and I can't remember the title, but I remember this specific story in there where the two brothers grew up the same, and they grew up in a very abusive home. And one of the brothers grew up and became very abusive, just like the dad. And his reasoning behind that was, I grew up in such a toxic, abusive household. How could I not be an abusive person? But when they spoke to the other brother that grew up in the same exact household, experienced the exact same things as the other brother, he said, there is no way that I can put my family through all of the toxicity and abuse that I went through, because I went through all of that. Why do I want to put my family, my children, through that toxicity that I myself experienced? I want to give them something different. So They both experienced abuse, but then they gave their children, their family, polar opposites because of the abuse that they experienced. The one brother decided, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to give my child, my children, my wife a different experience than the one that I experienced. And the other brother said, that's just the way that it is. I'm going to be happy by being the abuser. I'm going to be happy with passing down the toxicity. I'm going to be happy with not doing something different. So happiness is a choice that we all must make each and every day. And sometimes it happens in every moment of our day. So happiness is your choice. The third chapter is all about showing more love, showing more gratitude, and showing more appreciation for your spouse or your partner. Because these are the tweaks that I mentioned in the very beginning of this episode. We think that we have to do such grandiose things to have these beautiful relationships and marriages. And the truth of the matter is the fact that we show up and show the gratitude, express love that the way that they need to receive love, and just show your partner that you appreciate him, that you appreciate her. Those things go a long way. Which brings me into chapter number 4, which is all about respect. Now, we know that men, this is a big thing for men, respect. If you don't do nothing else with this book, I want you to take a deep dive into chapter number 4, which is all about respect, especially if you have heard your man say, you don't respect me. This chapter is going to help you see it from his point of view. Because what we deem as respect as women, we think that we're just saying what we need to say. We want to say it because it's on our chest, right? But not realizing that what you're doing is you are beating him down. You're making him feel like he needs to be in defense mode with his lady. And he don't want to be in defense mode with you. But because he probably, more than likely, right? Most men can articulate the things that they need to say, the things that they want from their lady without being too aggressive. And of course, this is not everybody. That's why I say most, right? So what he's trying to get you to see is, I want you to hear me. I want to be heard. And I also want to feel like this is just as important to me as it is to you. This needs to be addressed. And it does not mean that you are being a submissive, I'm just following along, because all of us need respect. We all need to feel respected. Men just is higher on the totem pole for men. So what I like to say, and what I actually say in the book, is respect to men is what love is to women. Okay, let me say that again. Respect to men is what love is to women. And actually, research has actually shown that they did a study with a group of men. And in there, they gave them a lot of choices. I think it was 4, if I'm not mistaken. But the choices that they gave the men is, would you rather feel loved and disrespected, or respected and unloved? And a resounding 77%, if I'm not mistaken, about the percentage of men said that they would rather feel respected and unloved by their significant other rather than loved and disrespected. So that tells you that the way that men look at respect, I'd rather for you respect me, for you to honor me, for you to understand what's exactly up here that's coming out of here to you, right? Versus you saying that, oh my God, I love you so much, and you catering and doing all of that stuff. Now, again, it's not to say that men don't need love, because they need it too. It's just women need to be and feel loved more than men do. That is actually one of the things that the Bible says that men that men have to give to women, as well as women have to give to men. So you read your Bible, and in there, when he's talking to men about women, He's telling them to love your wife. But when he's talking to women about men, he's telling you to respect your husband. So it's an innate thing that both of us need. Men need respect, women need love. Okay, I digress. Let me move on. Chapter number 5 is all about how we listen. A lot of us feel that when we get into our relationships that we can change the person that we are in the relationship with. And the only person that you can change is you. If you are in a relationship and your spouse is saying that they don't want to change, they are telling you the truth, you must accept what they are saying. Now, this does not mean that you have to stay there, but it does mean you have to accept what they're saying, because the decision to stay or go is yours and yours alone. But you do have to respect, you see that? What they are articulating to you. So you want to listen as you are his friend versus somebody that's trying to listen to change him, because he's not looking for a mom. Right? He's not looking for a mom in any way, shape, form, or fashion. He's looking for a spouse. He's looking for a helpmeet. He's looking for peace. He's looking to be honored. He's looking to be appreciated. He's looking to have a great time with laughter, filled with love, but also peace in the household. And that is your job. Peace in the household. Nurturing, right? But I want you to turn off your let me fix you listening ear and truly just listen to what he's saying, because it makes a difference on your response. That's when you know if a person is listening as a friend versus listening as someone that's trying to fix you. Chapter number 6. You see how juicy this book is? Pick it up. Pick up your copy. bit.ly/reigniting relationships. Chapter number 6 is, chapter number 6 is having a life outside of your spouse. See, many of us get caught up in wanting to do and have your spouse be everything. Why that's detrimental to the relationship is because before we were breaking off from our extended families and moving across country and moving to different countries altogether, we would have a village around us, right? And so that village that we used to have around us took a lot of the pressure off of one person having to be your everything. In this case, we do that to our spouse. We want them to be super emotional, but then be hard, right? So when we had our village, our emotional connection used to come from the women, right? We would go and sit around, laugh and joke, do hair, right? Have tea, whatever it is, just come together and socialize as women, as well as complain, get those things off of our chest. But that was the emotional feel that we would get from that village, right? We have a tendency to complain about the men not helping with the child or children. I'm not saying that he shouldn't, but back in the day when we had more villages, that was big mama would help out, the aunties would help out, the siblings would help out. And a lot of us nowadays are not staying anywhere near our old school village. Now, you have to remember that one person cannot be your everything. So I want you to have a life outside of your spouse, doing some of the things that you love doing, because the truth of the matter is you and your spouse are not going to meld and mesh and do everything or want to do everything together, because your interests, something about your interests may be different. Like you might like going to movies. He might like going to live theater. He loves playing video games. You don't want nothing to do with him, right? You want to build friendships and have that emotional connection. That's on this side with your girlfriends and stuff. And he probably only got one or two good guy friends. So the dynamics of your relationship, the things that you like, it could be both of y'all like sports. Y'all bonded on that, right? Y'all both might love poetry. You bonded on that. So absolutely there should be some things that are in common with the two of you. But then in order to keep that spark, to keep you interesting with your spouse, that's when that have a life outside of your spouse comes into play. Because you don't want to lose yourself and not do any of the things that you used to love doing. You still want to do those things, but you may have to find somebody else to do it with. And that's actually great because, again, when you come back home, now you can share this experience with your spouse. And they feel like they are a part because you have brought this new information to them. But then I also can see how sexy you are because you have leaned in to sharing this information. You light up, you're bright. Literally, there's a glow about you because you are walking into something that you love to do. So chapter 6 is all about having a life outside of your spouse. Chapter 7 is about the quality time that we spend with ourselves. Again, because we're leaning into ourselves. We're restoring the love on ourselves first. And then that will spill over into the love that you share and show with your spouse. So quality time is an absolute in every relationship. Making your partner feel like they are a priority is an absolute in your relationship. Being in the room and actually connecting with one another versus sitting there on a phone, on a tablet, on a game, that's where the breakdown and the distance comes in your relationship. Am I saying that you can never do those things? Absolutely not. But what I am saying is for you to put away those distracting things, including but not limited to your beautiful babies, okay? Get a babysitter. Wait till they go to sleep, whatever it is that you need to do so you can find actual time to connect and reignite your relationship. Title of the book. Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is all about discussing those major expectations. Now, Chapter 8 only talks about 3 of the major expectations, but there are so many other expectations out there. The 3 that I am honing in on are the 3 that most people get a divorce over. So there's absolutely more, but the top 3 that most people get a divorce over is whether they want to have a child or not. Somebody wants to have a child, others have not, but they never discussed it until they said I do, or very late on or deep into their relationship, right? So child or children. Finance always comes up. People get divorced over money all the time. So we want to talk about our finances, right? And then the third major part is your religion. And the religion piece usually doesn't weigh heavily on the relationship or marriage until you start to have those babies. Because if there's one in the relationship or both that is really heavy on one side, right? So one might be Christian, one might be Muslim. If you're both heavy into a relationship, and then whenever the children or a child or children comes into play, that's when the issues with religion usually occur. Beforehand, you might just go to your own, right? One is going to church and the other is going to the mosque, and it's not a big deal, right? But when the children come into play, one or both of you may want the children to be raised a certain way, and that really causes a lot of strife, a lot of animosity, a lot of frustration in your relationships, but specifically the marriage. Again, religion absolutely plays a huge part into how happy you guys are in your relationship. So don't discount religion. And especially now, if there's one person that's a Christian, right? Because I'm Christian, so that's always going to be my example, Christian, and the other person could be Muslim, but not heavy practicing Muslim, then that might not be detrimental to the relationship. But again, when the problems that come when we're talking about religion come into play, it happens 99% of the time after the child or children are born. So now keep that in mind. That's number 8. Number 9 focuses all on the positive characteristics of your spouse, meaning stop concentrating and focusing on the negative portions of your spouse or the negative things that they're bringing to the relationship. Because when you start to focus on the negative, that is all you will see. That is all you will see. And so I'm really trying to help you to understand, to stop focusing on the negative and look at what the person, your spouse, is bringing to the relationship that is positive, that is bringing to you that is positive, that is making your relationship run like a well-oiled machine. Focus on those things, because what we focus on grows. And so if you're focusing on the negative, then you will absolutely see nothing but negativity. And each time that you feel negative about your spouse, about the partner that you chose, about your relationship overall, you are not going to want to be there. And that's when other things come into play that I'm not going to talk about here. So we must focus on what we want to grow. And that is the positivity or the positive characteristics that your spouse is bringing to the table. The 10th and final chapter within the Reignite Your Relationship by 7X book is keeping God first. Now, I have to say, because I'm getting ready to wrap it up and I know that we're coming to the end of this episode, I put this at the end intentionally because this is when most people seek out help from God. Is it everybody? Absolutely not. But most people, the last resort on finding help, seeking help, is where God is put into place, not realizing that if he was your first way of seeking help, of seeking refuge, then your life will be so much better, so much easier. And the decisions and choices that we have a tendency to make would never be there. We must keep God first. Unfortunately, we have a tendency to put him last, which is why it is very intentional for me to put it in the book last, because that's what we do. That's what we do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with your girl with the very first episode of 2023 Love Restored. Thank you for hanging out with your girl. I am Marshaun Olaniyan. I am your shift relationship strategist. Again, if you want to follow along and take a deeper dive into the book as well as the chapters each week, pick up the copy of your book at bit.ly/reigniting relationships. Again, that's bit.ly/reigniting relationships. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I will see you on the next episode of Love Restored. Bye-bye.